a different perspective. What do you see?
I see an old man looking forlorn.
An old woman.
An older man.
There's an old lady there. Old woman.
An old lady, an old man. What do you see?
A girl with a hat hanging all down the back, a feather sticking up the front.
An old lady, and then if you look at it a different way, you see it as a young woman.
Not yet.
I see a face.
In this age of increasing interdependence, it becomes important for us to realize we each see things differently. This film is about a certain group of foreign students and their participation in international classroom. Foreign students or international students can broaden the international perspective of Americans in ways not otherwise available. 250,000 such students are enrolled in colleges and universities across the United States. Few Americans who have lived in other countries can match their cultural knowledge and varied perspectives. Today, with fewer financial resources to draw upon, educators need to know that these students can be an effective resource for global education.
The International Classroom program plays a very constructive role in the cross-fertilization of cultures. It helps the Americans gain a better understanding of people from foreign countries and their cultures, and it also gives them an insight as to what foreign students think about America and Americans.
I'm very proud of my country, and I love to tell others what it is like.
I think I help break the typical Indian stereotype that some people have, and it's just very satisfying to just be able to think that in my own little way I've helped to bring two cultures a little closer to each other.
There are many people in America who do not know very much about Ghana, or for that matter, Africa, and outside their own country. And this is a very fine opportunity for students from foreign countries to learn about life in the United States.
In 1961, the Ogontz Plan for Mutual International Education was initiated by a visionary parent at the Ogontz Junior High School in Cheltenham Township, Pennsylvania. To describe its program purpose more clearly, it became International Classroom. Generally, these foreign visitors represent the young, highly skilled, highly educated segment of their homelands. They may become very influential in their country's future. Undoubtedly, their experiences in International Classroom will have a significant impact on their lasting impressions of us and the United States.
In Philadelphia, International Classroom is headquartered at the University Museum of the University of Pennsylvania. Its small staff is assisted by volunteers on a part-time basis. At the beginning of the academic year, staff members meet and acquaint newly arrived international students with the program at Philadelphia's International House and foreign student offices of local colleges. Successful participation requires that each speak English clearly and have a sincere interest to interpret their national culture to Americans. Applicants fill in file cards relating to background, general interests, fields of study, class schedules, and the age group they prefer to address.
I left a few of these blank because I didn't know what I was supposed to put in.
That's fine. I'll be glad to answer your questions.
For example, artifacts. I didn't know what you meant by that.
Okay. Artifacts are things that you brought with you from India, such as stamps, coins, postcards, pictures of your family would be very nice.
I have a big book on India, and of course I could bring my sari, wear it maybe, or make one of the kids wear it, and some jewelry.
They will enjoy that very much. American audiences are visually oriented. It will help your presentation.
I understand. I didn't quite understand how to fill in the biographical information.
We use this biography to send to the classrooms where you will be going ahead of time, so they know a little bit about you. So whatever you think is important to know about you, such as your family, where you grew up, in a city or in a village, your travels, hobbies, interests, languages that you might speak.
I have a very busy schedule this semester. How many times will I be called?
It usually depends on how many requests we get for India. I would say probably no more than 2, perhaps 3 times. The first thing that we do is we call you when we get a request in the office for India and find out if this would be a situation you would like to be a part of. Then we send you written confirmation of that, giving the teacher's name, telephone number, and how and when, and to contact the teacher. You then call the teacher. That's your responsibility. And in that conversation, it's very important to find out what you're going to talk about, when you're going to go there, and how you're going to get there. You have to work out the transportation details with the teacher. And the kinds of things that you will usually talk about will be everyday life events in India, such as what time you get up in the morning, and what you eat, what you wear, how do you live, and how can you then relate to the students. It will help the teacher with her units and help the kids be more interested in what they're studying. When you're finished your day, or your half a day in the actual school, we ask you to fill out an evaluation of your time there, and the school at the same time will fill out an evaluation. In addition, we give you a voucher because you will be given an honorarium for any expenses you might have had for transportation, preparation, costs. We also want you to come to our orientation that we'll be having in November. We have it every year, and experienced foreign students who've been in the program will give their experiences in the international classroom.
My name is Ochiamiba Ode from Ghana. I've been in this program for the past 2 years. You new students who want to be part of this program, I think one of the most important things you have to consider when you go to the schools is presentation of material, how you tell about your country. When I go to the classroom, what I personally do is try to make comparisons. Ghana, Africa, good. Now, I've told you we are in Accra. That's the capital. What is the capital of your state? Good. I try to make the lesson or the class as interesting as possible. So I tell the children, I'm going to take you to my country. Now, we are in Ghana. This kind of costume is worn by people from the northern part of Ghana. Most of the people who live on the northern part of Ghana are Muslims, and this is how they dress. And because we are in Ghana and they are Ghanaians, they are going to have Ghanaian names, okay? So here you are, Akosia, that's your name. Say Akosia, all of you. Akosia. 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 A girl born on Sunday is called Akosia. Okay. Now, you were also born on Sunday. So your name is Kwasi. Say Kwasi. Kwasi. All of you say Kwasi. Akosia. Okay. You must, as much as possible, try to let the children have a wider perspective, that we have a world. And out of that world, you are one part of the world. Thank you for giving me this chance to speak to you and to change ideas. Thank you.
Yeah, I want to ask a question is whether or not there are certain subjects you should avoid, whether or not there's something you shouldn't talk about. I have a general feeling that there are a lot of differences among the people I've met from foreign countries, and certain subjects brings up a lot of hostility.
This program is a cultural program and not a political program. However, at the college level, very often you are asked to speak to something that relates to what the students are studying in their particular course. Usually our requests come from political science courses or courses in international relations or in history or sometimes in languages. For example, if you're in the Wharton School and want to talk about some aspects of the business world in your country, or if you want to talk about something to do with international trade or something to do with political ramifications that the professor will outline ahead of time. But you should feel perfectly free to say what you want to and to tell them you will not handle some subjects that you feel you're not comfortable with.
My name is Mckinley Lennox. I'm the principal of the Overlook Elementary School in Abington, Pennsylvania. We've had very positive contacts with the International Classroom Program, and actually it helped us with a need that we've had. We've had the program for the past 8 years. But early, when we started with the program, we had some difficulties with students, and they're relating to each other. As time went on, they began to treat each other differently. They began to expect that the name would be different, accept that there would be different clothing, and accept that there would be different ways of doing things. And most importantly, the youngsters stopped calling each other, or stopped referring to each other in ethnic or racial terms. They more or less understood and accepted that there would be differences and there would be similarities, and that really people are pretty much the same.
I'm Dr. George French, Director of Social Studies Education for the School District of Philadelphia. The International Classroom program is one of the more interesting programs we've had in the Philadelphia school system for some time. Essentially what it does is bring the world into the classroom, which is extremely important because the textbook very often emphasizes the quaint and the picturesque about countries other than our own, and in many ways reinforces stereotypes that young people bring into the classroom. Similarly, the other aspect of that program, the World Ancient and Modern, young people come out of the classroom to the University of Pennsylvania Museum to see the ancient aspect in history and heritage and culture from the tombs of the ancient Egyptian kings.
That survives of the 14. And as far as we can tell, it is the third largest Egyptian sphinx in the world, the largest inside any museum. It's made of solid granite, and it weighs 25,000 pounds. What is that on the end of Pharaoh's chin? A beard, all right. What does that beard mean? What are you trying to say about your king?
Wisdom,
maturity,
manhood.
Manhood?
Maturity, manhood.
Right. Mm-hmm. This is a model of what we think the palace of Merneptah looked like. We can't be certain because, as we've talked about before, the walls were made of mud brick, they were coated with plaster, and then painted.
It's one thing to see an exhibit on Egypt. It's something else to meet a young Egyptian and share some of their problems and concerns about Egypt today.
This gives you an idea how the customs are different from here. The necessity of life, you know, everything is getting expensive, working in order to afford, you know, standard of living. Everything is getting high too.
If your family moved here, would they change their customs?
If the family is somehow modern, because we have two types of families. We have modern families and traditional families. It might change its way.
Are your holidays different from ours?
It's for this reason that we're very interested in having our young people get perspective of balance in terms of how they see today's world. Another program very important to us in the Philadelphia school system is our program with the International Classroom, working with newcomers who have come into our schools from Laos, from Cambodia, from Thailand, from South Vietnam. We've been working with the International Classroom to get and to select nationals from those countries who are attending local universities to go into our schools, to work with these young people, to tutor them in reading, to tutor them in writing, to help them understand the culture of this country, to help them in those survival skills that are so necessary and so practical for survival in a great urban center like Philadelphia.
My name is Ann Kuhlman, and I'm the Foreign Student Advisor at the University of Pennsylvania. A program like International Classroom gives foreign students and their families an opportunity to experience another part of the American system. I think it provides an excellent opportunity for the American community to hear another perspective. I've found that most of the foreign students are very eager to have an opportunity to meet other Americans outside the university setting.
I'm Barbara Palma Whitehead from Santiago, Chile.
I'm Zuhair Hussain from Pakistan.
International Classroom asked me if I would be interested in joining the program. I thought it was a great idea for me to get involved with children and to get involved with teaching in a little way and being able to tell children or students what Chile was like.
Considering the fact that I want to teach at the college or university level back in my country, Pakistan, I thought it would be a wonderful teaching experience. We are living in an age of interdependence. We are living in an interconnected, interlocked, and interrelated world in which no one country can solve the problems individually. We have global problems that have to be addressed globally. And so we all need to think about these problems together, build bridges of understanding, open lines of communication, and try to understand each other, become more cosmopolitan, become less parochial, and thereby build a stable structure of peace for the future together.
This is a piece of copper. Chile is a very important country for its exporting of it. That's why I always carry it and show it to the children. It's easier for them to relate than just say copper. They don't understand what it means. And when I talk to the older students, college kids in Spanish, it is easier for me to show them when I'm speaking in Spanish. Sometimes if they've lost the idea of what I've said, when I show them something, they immediately grab what I'm saying.
Algo así, ¿ya? Pero no me pregunten cómo se hace.
Sometimes they look at you and you think they're just staring at me. But they're not. They're really grasping a lot of it. And at the end of the class, they love to ask you questions on what you have just said or to go more in depth on what you have just said. They really are interested in finding out what the rest of the world lives like or looks like. They especially want to know how I lived in Chile, what my type of life was, what my family looks like, how exactly we live, and how you can compare our lives in Chile to the life here in the United States.
No son chilenos.
I am Alma Allen, Professor of Romance Languages at Delaware County Community College. Our college offered the first college-level cross-cultural program sponsored by the International Classroom. Our students have consistently given high ratings to these intercultural exchanges in a variety of categories: in the motivation of foreign language learning, in a study of the awareness of cultures in contrast, and finally, in the relevancy of their educational and personal experiences.
I'm Margaret Lanzetta from the World Affairs Council of Philadelphia. The World Affairs Council cooperates with International Classroom in sponsoring educational programs in the community. Interest in global education teacher training programs led the World Affairs Council to develop an in-service course, National Perspectives on International Issues, which features foreign university students from International Classroom discussing crucial global issues such as energy, the environment, the economy, from the perspective of their own individual countries. These courses have been eminently successful in the education of area teachers.
Nuclear power. Nuclear power was a big issue in Sweden like 1 year ago.
The major supplier of fuel in Korea, which is coal, couldn't meet the demand. So it was considered more or less as fuel crisis than the energy crisis.
A whole building is lit up the whole night, and you might find just 2 people working.
Cooperation with other internationally minded organizations is important to help Americans gain new perspectives. There are numerous World Affairs Councils, United Nations Association chapters, and councils for international visitors. At this suburban community center, a panel addresses the subject of how others view the United States.
I think the first big thing that gives a lot of influence in our culture is TV in Brazil. We have a big TV channel, and we have almost the same programs you have here. They translate all the programs, but we see American life on TV almost every day. So we have a lot of impressions.
Everything is very impressive, and I feel I like this country, and I feel quite at home here. But what I want to talk about is not the material things, although some material things are really, I think it's a miracle. For example, your highway system. I know some of the Americans, they even have something to complain of their highway system. But I'd like my country will have something like that.
I would like to ask our friend from Yugoslavia what sorts of things you have in your cities that you think would be good for us to have here.
It seems that Americans still do not realize the values of city life, urban life. I mean, in terms of street life and living in the center city. they are so obsessed with living and having a very close contact with nature. And they think that the only way to do so is to live in suburbia and have your big own private garden.
I would like each of you to give your impression of our school system as compared with yours.
It's a little bit more formal than the schools here, so if you want to speak, you have to raise your hand.
I just couldn't imagine that so many people from all over the world would be found here. It's unbelievable. And it seems there is one simple reason for that. It's the conditions for work, the computer facility, the excellent libraries.
When I go back to China, I will continue my translation work and teaching to help introducing American literature to Chinese people. I think now the world is really small. We'll have to clear away all the myths about every country and to increase the mutual understanding. I will devote my life to that.
Many people here, Africa, wherever, do not really understand the world. But we in Africa say that we are just passing through this world. It's just like you are going to New York City and you are passing through New Jersey. So you should just move on. And you move on how? You move on by trying to love whoever is in the bus, not trying to hate anybody. And I'm very sure if we all together do that, there will be peace. Thank you.
In the formative years of International Classroom, Evelyn Palmer spearheaded the recruitment of foreign visitors. International Classroom's advisory committee is composed of 14 people from the business, educational, and professional world who work with the staff and volunteers to establish a firm base in the community. Each fall, International Classroom hosts a reception for foreign students with the assistance of the Consular Corps Association and other international organizations. Chairman Lou Klein.
Now, this particular reception has gotten to be a very joyful gala affair. There were approximately 800 students. If one could be at the top of that room and look down on the myriad and varied group there, some of them in native costume, you could realize that it was a happy, useful affair.
For a teacher, time is the most important commodity. One phone call to International Classroom sets in motion a series of procedures.
Like a student visitor from India?
The appropriate foreign student is selected and contacted.
I have a request from a school for you.
Yes, I'd be very interested.
As soon as the student accepts the assignment, the various forms that outline the arrangements for the visit are sent to both the school and the student. Thoughtful evaluations are important in order to improve the effectiveness of visits and maintain the quality of the program.
Shilpa Patel, calling about International Classroom.
The foreign student visitor personally contacts the teacher and is careful to cover each of the main points: the age group of the children, the overall goals of the visit, and the best means of transportation to the school.
We can have one of our staff meet you at the train station. The train is the most direct.
We greet people by joining our hands together like this and going, Namaste. Bowing down our heads a little bit. Namaste. Can you say that? Namaste. Great. Okay. I'll write my name on the board for you in English. And that's S-H-I-L-P-A. Shilpa. Can you say that? Shilpa. That's not very difficult. Okay. In Hindi, it would be written like this. That's sh. This little thing here gives the sound of E. So this is she. This is L. L. And that's shil. That's P. And this is A. So the whole thing says Shilpa. See? Looks a little different, doesn't it? Okay. Now, the United States has 200 million people. India has 650 million. That's 3 times the size. A lot of people in India go hungry because they have no food. And that's when a country like United States can help India. Do you know how it helps India? Sends it grain, that's right. It's called a tiffin. It opens up into 3 little boxes like this. And in each of these boxes, there might be a little bit of curry, a little bit of rice, or some vegetables, some bread, and each go on top of the other like this. And then this shuts like this, and it's carried to school. Cotton is a fiber that is grown in India. A lot of saris are silk. So if you're going out, if you're going to a wedding or to a party, you would want to wear a silk sari. Okay. Oops, there you are.
There may already be an international classroom-type program in your area. If not, you may want to start one. Use International Classroom's 20 years of experience to create or improve your own program. Send for our comprehensive list of current international classroom-type programs in the United States and our free resource kit with all the forms, handbooks, and procedures used by the successful Philadelphia program. A color slideshow for elementary and secondary school educators is available on loan with useful procedures involving foreign students in the classroom. For one or all of these materials, write or call International Classroom, National Resource Center, the University Museum, University of Pennsylvania, 33rd and Spruce Streets, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, 19104. Area 215-243-4066. Attention, Marilyn Roper.